Hey guys, we're here today to talk about comping a home. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive right in. So, talking about comping homes, let's talk about what does the word comp mean? So, comp means to find a comparable sale, find something like that is similar in size, location, condition, all of that, and you should be able to find out the value of whatever it is you're comping. So, out of those, let's talk about location being the first and highest priority. Usually, your comps are going to be within a mile radius, right down the road, hopefully in a neighborhood. You just need to look nearby. If it's say like a Gardens of Manship neighborhood, you want to comp that neighborhood and draw your little boundary around that neighborhood. Now, if you know that, say, Gardens of Manship, those size houses, they also built Huntington View about the same year as they were building those houses. A lot of the same builders were building the same neighborhoods, the same features, same size houses, same plans. They're just 3 miles up the road. That's why real estate is a uh, micro market. It's very niche. It's very local. So knowing your neighborhood, being the expert and knowing, okay, this neighborhood's just like this neighborhood, it gives you an advantage when you're comping homes because you know you can use this neighborhood in your comps because an appraiser is going to know that and he's going to do those things. So being an expert in the area where you're doing the comps really helps. It's sometimes hard just to look on a computer and find the comps. You need to know a little bit about the area of where you're comping. If you can't find anything really close, that's when it's okay to expand out. You cannot expand out, let me be clear, unless there's nothing close. And when I say nothing close, it can't be, well, I don't like these. I want to go out. No, if it's like yours, you will have to use those. You can't just take the good ones out. There's always going to be some type of boundary, a school zone, a neighborhood boundary, a county line, something that is going to change the value of real estate. It just is. That's how it works. So time frame, how far can you go back? Again, there's no unwritten rule. There's no written rule. A lot like um, a lot like the land boundary. The time frame can fluctuate. You fluctuate that with anything that's happened in the market. Lately, we've had the interest rate jump up 5 points. That's a big deal. That's going to change the market a little bit. We're starting to see that. So if I'm going to comp a house right now, honestly, I'm not going to go back a year. I'm probably going to go back to about, well, it almost has been a year now, but around October is when I think we really started seeing the effects of the interest rates. So that's how I want to go back is I want to see how much this house is worth with today's interest rate. So another huge thing that I see, I'm guilty of this, a lot of us don't use is using the pending listings. Now, can you just go use a pending listing in your comps? No, it's not smart to, but what you can do is call the listing agent and say, hey, have you had the appraisal yet? When's this house going to close? What do you think the house is going to close for? That's what you want to know. And that real estate agent probably has a good idea. It's just, do you have a relationship with that agent to get them to open up and tell you? But don't discount your pendings. Don't just throw them in blind. Know what they're going to close for. Make sure they've had an appraisal if you're going to use that comp and the inspection contingency's been released. But you can get a good idea from the pendings if you do not see any closed houses. So let's talk about size. Usually you just want to stay within 300 feet of your home size. If it's 1,500 square foot, I'll sometimes hit 16 and 14. If I don't see anything, I'll adjust it to 17 and 13, just kind of adjust it out. But I don't want to go 300 to 400 above or below. I usually want to keep it as close as I can. There again, there's no science to comping houses, but you want to get as close and the same size as possible. And if you don't see anything, you just start expanding out. Same thing with a bed and bath. You really want to try, if it's a 3-2, to find a 3-2 or a 3-1 or something very similar. Condition of the home plays a huge role on valuing the house. It's possible also to do what they call a backwards comp. So we've ran across this. I had a discussion. I've got a log cabin listed on 40 acres. So me and an agent was talking. He said, Ryan, let's break this down. 40 acres in this area usually would sell for somewhere around $40, I'm sorry, $400 an acre. So at $400 an acre, let's see. No, I'm sorry, 4,000 an acre. So 4,000 an acre times 40 acres is 160,000, and it would only cost about another 150,000 to build the cabin. So you get it 310, and we had it listed at 400. So he said, how are you getting these comps? I said, well, I'm not. They don't add up. I agree. Using that method, you can not really show how this is worth that. That's not saying that I can't list it for whatever I want to. I'm just saying the comps do not support it. And sometimes, especially if you're doing acreage, you want to do the land and the house separate. Okay, how much would this house sell for if it was on a lot? And it might be 180,000. Okay, how much is this 7 acres if you just bought 7 acres? And you just add those two together. Appraisers will do that a lot. So how do you account for needs paint, needs floors, or does a new roof add value from a 6-year-old roof? If you're checking this house out and you walk in and you see that it needs paint, but everything else is okay, well, how do you value that house against houses that don't need paint? Their paint's fine. Their house is move-in ready. The floors were nice, and they sold for $150 a square foot. How much is your house worth if it needs floors? So let's talk about home devaluing. To answer that question is you just figure out how much would it cost to paint the house. Well, painting the house is usually around $3 to $6 a square foot, depending on how big the house is. Are they doing trim and cabinets or just walls? But you can see here, paint's not that expensive. So a 1,500 square foot house would probably be around $6,000 or $7,000, maybe 10 to 12, just kind of depends. But that's how I would value a house. If I've got a $250,000 house that's 1,500 square foot that I know everything is good, this thing could just use a coat of paint. Well, it really depends on how I'm going to devalue that house. Now, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've had such a shortage that it didn't devalue it one bit. That house would still sell for top dollar, just like the other ones that didn't need paint. Now, what you run into is, what about a normal market? Well, a normal market, I would tell somebody, okay, somebody may probably come in here and buy this house for that full price, but the house is probably going to have more market time. It's going to sit on the market until the ones that don't need painting are sold for the same price, and then only yours is left. You're going to have to catch a gap when you're the only game in town. Well, you're not that game right now, but let's just put it on the market, and hopefully you will be one day. So if it needs paint, you can expect more market time. or less money, one of the two. Same thing with the floors. Not saying you can't get top dollar for a house that the whole floors are scuffed up a little bit, but you may have more market time. A roof, same thing. If the house has a 6-year-old roof, well, that roof is fine. We're not going to devalue the house much for a 6-year-old roof, but a brand new roof sure does help that market time. It catches people's attention, they feel comfortable, and they're more apt to pull the trigger. Wood rot, to answer that, can usually be fixed for a couple $100. Wood rot's not a huge deal killer. So the age of the home is something else that I look at. It's the houses that are built around the same time are going to have likewise HVAC and plumbing, all that stuff. The features of the house will be very similar. Now, value is given for a brand new home. There's a value to brand newness. And then there's value for a flipped home because we have a lot of brand new pieces in that flipped home. And then there's value given to a home that's been well kept up. You can just tell this house has been taken care of, it's been updated often. How much value? Well, you have to decide. You have to look at the houses around it just to see how much value a brand new home. You're not going to sell a brand new home in this neighborhood for very much more than you can buy a brand new home just like it in a neighborhood right near it. So just look at what's around and compare it. Nearby features such as homes that are on the water, homes that are near the water, near a park, have neighborhood amenities such as swimming pool. So I'm comping a condo and I may have to jump across the reservoir to Point Clear to find that likewise condo association. It's very likewise on our condo association. They both have a pool, they're both on the water, they're both 1,000 square foot, 2-bed, 2-bath. They're very likewise, even though they're in a whole different city, whole different county. But that's okay. It's a very likewise property. So that's what you're looking for. School ratings are another cool feature that you want to search for. Put in that school zone. So pools, garages, workshops, land, it all adds value. It kind of depends on how much value. If you have 10 houses here, or let me rephrase that. So if the comps you're using have a pool and your house has a pool, well, you wouldn't add value to your house because your house has a pool. That house sold and it has a pool. So you're already comparing apples to apples. Now, if none of your comps have a pool, well, then you're going to add value to your house because it has that pool. Same thing with any add-on. If it's an elevator on a house or a mother-in-law suite off the side of a house, all of those little add-ons are going to add value most of the time. It just depends on how much, depending on if the other houses have those features, and if they do not, you just really have to figure out how much value that's going to add to this house. How much use is that? If you're selling a house, I'm going to try to think of a wild example right here near the office that that maybe has something wild in it, like an elevator to the attic. I've seen that. I've seen an elevator in the garage that people can put their Christmas trees on, push a button, zzz, goes up in the attic. Well, somebody's not going to use that. It adds zero value to them. So you have to really think, okay, is this something that's going to add value to the masses? Like a lot of people want a swimming pool. Not very many people care about an elevator to the attic. Me personally, I would care less if that was on there. It adds zero value, but it may to somebody else. So price per square foot, what is it? I love price per square foot, but I'm not going to just look on the comps, look and see what's sold, see what price per square foot that is, do that times my square foot and call it a day. That's when you're going to overprice and underprice homes. Use this to double check yourself. Are you in line across the city, the county, all those things? In Rankin County, you can kind of tell any house that's livable is just about worth 120 a square foot. Um, you just find out once you get through with your comps, once you have your number, then you divide it by the square footage and just see what price per square foot you come up with. Hopefully, it's somewhere in that range of where the other houses are selling for, and you'll have your comps. Bam! You'll not only have your comps, you came up with your comps and then double checked yourself with price per square foot. And that's when you'll know that you can be comfortable and confident when you are delivering those comps. So, what do you do if there's just nothing out there? If somebody's called with a mobile home on 85 acres with a lake and a garage and you can't find anything, you can expand your search out to, you can go out 80 miles if you have to find that comp. If it's a true comp, if it's something wild, you can go out and try to find that. You can also use that cost approach that I was talking about earlier, separating the land from the house. And how much would it cost to build this house? How much would just this land cost? And usually you can find those numbers. All right, so usually a property won't be worth more than it cost of reproducing it. In other words, if I can build a brand new house on 5 acres for this amount, this house on 5 acres is not going to be worth a whole lot more than this amount because people would just buy it and build them a new one. So last page is just everything condensed into one. This is like your little cheat sheet. What to consider when finding real estate comps. First thing's location. Try to, if it's in a neighborhood, great. If not, go with similar size, age, and amenities, starting with 1 mile out. Time frame. Go back it around 3 to 6 months to start with. If you don't see anything, you can tweak that number. Size, same thing. Try to stay within 300 before and up. Bed and bath, try to get really close to that. Condition of home is a huge factor. Recent renovations, updates, outdated features. Age of home is another great way to narrow down the search because you're going to have a lot of likewise houses built around the same time. And then the nearby features, the water proximity, the neighborhood amenities, things like that. Price per square foot when you get through to double check yourself. So guys, that is comping in a house. Heck yeah, I think y'all can get it from there. And if you need anything, just give me a call and we can help you guys value a house to where you're going to get your client the most money. Calling those pendings and things like that are the little tricks that great realtors use to get their clients the most dollar they can. Talk to y'all later.